The Y Factor.
Seeing we've had a depressing episode, how about you guys enlighten us with something funny, maybe?
Yeah, I've got a wacky story. It starts a little bit like this. Once upon a time, there was a 33-year-old Indian farmer.
And here we go.
He was really, really mean to dogs. He actually...
He sounds Muslim to me.
Oh, come on. I love dogs, and I'm Muslim, I think, last time I checked. Anyway,
going.
what happens is he stoned 2 dogs to death, and then he strung
It does
them
sound Muslim.
They might have been adulterers.
Oh, guys, come on. You can't joke about that kind of thing. So he stoned 2 dogs to death, and then he strung them up in a tree 15 years ago. After that, his hands got paralysed, his legs got paralysed, and he lost hearing in one ear.
Wow.
Oh, and also his speech was impaired. So the guy pretty much gets sick with all these things. He starts going to doctors, and the doctors told him that there's nothing they could do. So this guy, and his name is Selva Kumar, all right, he went to an astrologer because in Hindu culture, I think they're pretty important. He went to the astrologer, and the guy told him he was cursed by the spirits of the dogs that he had killed.
Oh, yeah?
So what's the solution? He had to marry a dog.
Oh, God.
Oh, as you do.
As you do. So he goes, and his family chose him a stray female dog. She was bathed, and they dressed her up for the wedding, and they got married.
She looked really good. She had garlands around her neck, and she had a small sari.
Her name was Selvi.
And the village women came into the temple with her, and there was a Hindu priest that conducted the ceremony.
You know what this reminds me of? When Aishwarya Rai was getting married, they said that her star signs weren't compatible with her husband, so to fix that problem, she had to marry a tree.
Did she do that?
Yeah. They full had a ceremony.
Are you
I remember
serious?
seeing the pictures and the footage on TV.
Didn't her husband get jealous?
It's a tree.
Inanimate object. How about the other lady that married herself was it Taiwan?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but I don't think that was to do with astrology.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, all these non-traditional forms of marriages are opening up. So, for all our listeners out there.
You know what's
please
funny?
don't think you're limited to just the traditional forms of marriage. No.
You know what's
might
funny,
find a
Miran?
rock to marry out there.
It's never hard to find a wacky story. We live in a wacky world. Authorities have charged a US woman with felony animal cruelty, saying she hanged her nephew's pit bull from a tree with, guess what?
What?
An electrical cord. Okay, and then it burnt its body.
God.
Why? Why did she do this? Because the dog chewed on her Bible.
Oh.
On her what? On her what? On her shoe.
No, I thought you were going to say she, wanted a hot dog or something.
Oh, funny. Same, sure.
Not really, but yeah, he chewed on her Bible, and she got pretty angry.
Obviously you don't want anyone chewing on your religious book, but hanging a dog with an electrical cord.
Okay, this doggy business is really getting to me this week. Anything else?
Okay, fine. We'll leave it at that. We'll take a short break, and then after the break, we'll go into our special feature of the week. So stay with us. You're listening to The Y Factor on 87.6 FM.
We once had a teacher, the teacher of teachers. He changed the world for the better and made us better creatures. Oh Allah, we've shamed ourselves, we've strayed from Al-Mu'allim. Surely we've wronged ourselves, what will we say in front of it? Mu'allim.
Welcome back to the Y Factor.
Now, school started up last week, and in light of that,
today's feature segment will be covering scripture in schools.
Joining us in the studio today is the New South Wales Islamic Scripture Coordinator, Mazen Fahmy. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Mazen.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
First of all, what is the uniqueness of Islamic special religious education in New South Wales?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wa salam ala rasulullah. The Islamic Scripture program is extremely unique. And there's a lot of ways I can substantiate that, but I'll just recall a trip where I was in Egypt about three to 4 months ago. And I was travelling with some local sheikhs there, and they were quizzing me about what do I do in Australia and so forth. And I started discussing the concept of scripture. And we're driving for a 2-hour drive. Actually, we're driving to see Muhammad Hussein in Al-Mansoura. So we're going from Al-Qahira to Al-Mansoura. And as I explained to them the concept of scripture in Australia, they stopped their car and they were freaked out. They said, "What?" I said, "Are you serious? Such a program exists in Australia where Muslims can go into a government school or public school and teach about Islam and educate Muslim students about Islam, where they don't control the syllabus, they don't control the manhaj." One goes, "Wallahi, this is an amazing nama. This is an amazing rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, an amazing opportunity." He said, "Tonight when I go on the Izzah," and he got a regular gig on the one of the TV channels there. He goes, "I'll be informing everybody in Egypt and in Europe," because it apparently extends to Europe, this particular channel, that such a program exists in Australia. And this was his response when I told him that we have a scripture program which allows us to teach Muslim students in government schools about Islam. So that's unique in itself. The opportunity and what he found so astounding is that the lack of opportunity or capacity for dawah and Islamic education in Islamic countries such as Egypt, where it's so controlled, and Egypt, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and the likes, of course, where they control so much of Islamic education, where we live in a non-Muslim country, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this opportunity to educate our students in government schools, which is quite phenomenal.
Like, how flexible is the government with the scripture teaching?
The government facilitates the opportunity. So the government stipulates through legislation, so the Department of Education Act, that every child in a New South Wales government school has the right, this is the haqq, this is their sort of legal right, to have one lesson per week of their own religion. Okay, and the government authorises particular organisations. So the Islamic Council of New South Wales is the authorised body to facilitate the Islamic education program. The Jewish Board of Education facilitate the Jewish program and so forth. So as is the part of the Islamic Council, as the coordinator for the scripture program, the government only ensures that we as an organisation comply. So we have the authority, within legislation we authorise teachers. So alhamdulillah, they don't stipulate what needs to be said in what needs to be delivered in terms of content and curriculum. They don't control teachers as long as every teacher has completed the Child Protection Declaration, which just means that they sign a declaration saying, "I've never been charged with a criminal offence regarding children, sexual abuse, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and so forth." So other than that, the government facilitates quite well and does not control anything.
All right, so what I want to know is how much impact that half an hour to 1 hour a week really has. I mean, it doesn't seem like very much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a fantastic question. Something we've evolved over time. When my committee, or since I was part of Scripture, say about 8 years ago, Scripture itself was, alhamdulillah, instigated in the mid-1980s. When I hopped on board about 8 years ago, the style or the rhetoric there was to teach. A lot of teaching, a lot of knowledge. So they had some fantastic books from overseas which talk about fiqh and haram and halal and so forth, which is fantastic. However, we realized that it's only half an hour a week, and we also realized the nature of the audience and the nature of the students, that they're at various levels, because their parents and cultures at various levels. Some are quite knowledgeable, the majority have little knowledge about Islam, and we realized despite what they may learn with the little time that they have, that they go back and they wouldn't practice it. So what we've evolved the curriculum to, considering the half an hour a week, is to something where it's a lot more motivational. Okay, so the objective of that half an hour per week is to instigate the love for learning about Islam. Okay?
In the hope that they would go home and search more.
Absolutely. So if we can get students to want to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, want to love the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, want to love the character of a Muslim, want to love the akhlaq, the well-being, the happiness of a Muslim, then they will go out there and search. They'll ask their mums and dads, they'll go to the local Quran schools, local musallas, local mosques, local sharia colleges and so forth, and that's where they'll get the core of their knowledge. Okay, so the whole idea, although there is knowledge about manners and knowledge about prayer and so forth, the core objective is to instigate and motivate students to want to learn more after hours.
That's the objective, but has it actually been working?
Absolutely, alhamdulillah. we've seen some fantastic success stories. We are dealing with about 20,000 students every single week, which we reach. We probably have another 30 to 40,000 which we don't reach, but we do reach about close to 20,000 Muslim students every single week across Sydney, alhamdulillah, in public schools. We've had some fantastic stories. We've received a letter once from a mother of a high school student, and this high school student I think went to Cheltenham Girls or the like, one of the Hills area high schools, and the mother said that, we're just an average family, we're not religious and so forth. My husband drinks, I don't wear the hijab. But to cut a long story short, the mother stipulated in the letter that over time, through my daughter's scripture lessons and her influence on myself and my husband, I put the hijab and my husband stopped drinking. So this is just one story, not including, alhamdulillah, the people who boys and girls who have, we regularly see in mosques, boys who have started praying, girls who have put the hijab on, developed akhlaq and so forth. So we are limited with a half an hour a week. We are limited with our capacity, our resources, our number of teachers, quality teachers as well, because alhamdulillah there are fantastic people who love to teach, but they're not teachers. These people are mechanics or mothers and so forth. So may Allah reward them for their efforts. Our job now is to sort of develop them as teachers, because the better teachers you have, the more impact, to answer your question, the more impact you can have on the students.
Of course.
And so is it easy to become a scripture teacher?
It is easy, subject to a few criteria. I think everything in life is easy. The state of mind, everything's a state of mind. It's easy, inshallah, if you have the right attitude. As a basic criteria, you must be able to communicate and have the capacity to communicate in English. Of course, the reasoning there is that not all Muslims are Arabs. So there are Turkish and Indonesian and Australian and Chinese Muslims in the classes. So number one, you must speak English. Number two, you must be able to commit yourself to a particular time slot consistently for a minimum of a term. So I know some people say, I'd love to teach scripture, say in Lakemba, when I'm in the area. So maybe, sometimes I can make it, sometimes I can't. Unfortunately, that wouldn't work out, because the schools go to a lot of trouble to organise and facilitate these classes and rearrange classrooms and teachers and so forth. So a teacher has to commit themselves to a particular time slot and be consistently be able to make that time slot at least for the whole term. And the third criteria, so the first one's be able to speak English, second one's the commitment level, and the third one is to be of Islamic, to some sort of Islamic role model. So what we're saying here is that, we can't expect a male who wears shorts, footy shorts and a singlet to go and teach scripture. We can't expect a female without a hijab and a miniskirt to go and teach scripture. Now, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge his people accordingly, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strengthen us and guide us and them. However, from my perspective as the coordinator, I have a responsibility to ensure that our students look up to these teachers. Now, what you don't want is to corrupt the hearts and the minds. By the way, these people could be fantastic teachers. You might have we've had some fantastic females who don't wear the hijab, who are fantastic teachers, and they look very quite sincere, alhamdulillah. But we can't allow them to teach, because that will corrupt the hearts and the minds of the students, thinking that my Islamic teacher does not wear the hijab, wears a skirt, or shows their aura.
I think it sends mixed messages.
That's right, absolutely. It sends the message that it's okay to do that in Islam. When of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stipulated quite clearly that what a man and woman should wear and do and so forth. So, and basic Islamic role model, inshallah.